Chapter 264. For 5 consecutive days, Lin Muyu had been immersed in the research and creation of the use of light elemental energy. Initially, when she slashed down with her sword, only the sword chi would blow on the shield. The light elemental rule power did not affect it at all. However, Lin Muyu used the 4-dimensional power to constantly accelerate the speed of the light elemental energy in the blade. Finally, on the 2nd day she was able to produce a light elemental righteous force. On the 3rd day, every time she slashed down with her sword, the light elemental energy had already shown signs of leaving the blade. On the 5th day he had achieved great success. Shwa! The blade fell heavily. The moment it approached the shield, it was suddenly stopped by Lin Muyu. However, the light energy contained in the blade did not stop. It directly passed through the blade and landed on the shield. Ka! A shocking scene appeared. The ray of sword chi condensed from the law of light went straight through the shield and instantly cut off a corner of the office desk. It's done. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. At this time the elven female officer Lulu, whom he had not seen for a long time, flew out. She smiled and said, "Congratulations, brother, you have created a skill." Lin Muyu grinned. He suddenly realized that the word skill had become so unfamiliar. Was this / really just a simple game skill? Probably not. This was just a killing skill. "Brother, what do you plan to name this skill?" Lulu asked with a smile. Lin Muyu said without hesitation, "Light Splitting Slash, evolved from Lightning Strike." "I have already thought about it." "Not a bad name." Lulu flew around him and said with a smile, "Brother's strength is getting stronger and stronger. This is great." Lin Muyu laughed out loud. He raised his long sword and calmly launched another attack. He succeeded once again. The light-splitting sword chi pierced through the floor. His power was astonishing. He had completely mastered the light-splitting slash. The most terrifying part of the light-splitting slash was that it could kill people from a distance. No matter how strong the chi of vigor or how thick the armor of the opponent was, when the light-splitting slash slashed down, it was equivalent to ignoring all of the opponent's defenses and directly striking their body. After dinner he continued to practice and strengthen the light-splitting slash. Lin Muyu had a stubborn personality. He would never be satisfied if he did not increase the lethality and speed of this move to the maximum. This was probably one of the reasons why he was able to practice to this level. He blew out the candlelight in the office, and the dragon spirit sword in his hand glowed with a faint golden light of dawn. He suddenly swung the sword and the light-splitting sword chi flew through the air and slowly dissipated. The light-splitting slash was a powerful attack, but it didn't have a long range. It was the kind of attack that had extremely high lethality within 5 meters, but outside that range, it would automatically disintegrate. Dong dong. A holy temple guard knocked on the door and said, "Deacon Lin, there is someone outside the main hall looking for you. He claims to be from Heaven's Pivot Province and has come to Lanyan City to look for you. He hopes that you can meet him." Dubhe Province? Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I don't know anyone from Dubhe Province. Did you ask who it was?" "I didn't ask if Lord Deacon wants to see me or not. Take him to the living room. I'll be right there." "Yes." Lin Muyu tidied up his attire and put on the deacon's armor. He hung the dragon spirit sword on his waist and walked out of the office with his hand on the hilt. Immediately, 2 holy temple guards followed him to the living room. The living room was brightly lit, and a gold star instructor was guarding outside the door with a steel knife. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Deacon Lin." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and entered the living room. He saw that it wasn't just one person but a total of 3 people. A stooped old man with a cloak on his head sat there quietly. Behind him were 2 handsome young men. One of them looked somewhat familiar, but Lin Muyu couldn't remember where he had seen this person before. "Oh, I'm Lin Muyu. May I know who you are?" Lin Muyu stood respectfully in front of the old man. At this time the old man slowly raised his head and lifted his cloak. A pale face appeared in front of Lin Muyu. He looked to be around 60 years old, but he was hale and hearty, completely different from Qin Jin's sickly complexion. His eyes shone brightly as he stood up with a smile and cupped his fists. "This old man is Yuchi Tian. Greetings, Temple Deacon Lin Muyu." Lin Muyu was taken aback. At this time, Deacon Guyang beside her was taken aback. "Your Lord Yuchi Tian?" "Yes, I am. How could I be wrong?" Yuchi Tian smiled. This person looked like he had a powerful background. Lin Muyu turned around and asked, Deacon Guyong, I'm not very familiar with the situation in Heaven's Pivot Province. Yuchi-yun is. Guyong smiled. You really don't know. The Empire's garrison in Heaven's Pivot Province is called the Heaven's Pivot Army. It has 80,000 soldiers, and the general of the Heaven's Pivot Army is this General Yuchi Tian in front of you. And General Yuchi is not only the general of the Heaven's Pivot Army, but also the head of the entire Yuchi family. He is in charge of smelting iron, alchemy, commerce, and many other areas in Heaven's Pivot Province. It can be said that 50% of the Heaven's Pivot Province's wealth and military strength belong to the Yuchi family. Lin Muyu was stunned. No matter what, he didn't dare associate this old man with the legendary Yuchi Tian. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said respectfully, Lin Muyu pays his respects to General Yuchi. Yuchi Tian smiled and stepped forward to hold Lin Muyu's arm. You don't have to be so polite, Lord Lin Muyu. This old man has come to Lanyan City as a visitor and didn't dare disturb His Majesty. Moreover, I'm here to discuss something with you, Lord Lin Muyu. Oh, please speak. It's like this. Last time, Lord Lin Muyu forged a purple ink sword and broke the long sword forged by my son. I'm ashamed to say this. This old man has failed to teach his son well. That time my son offended you. I hope you'll be magnanimous enough to forgive him. Lin Muyu was taken aback. She raised her head to look at the young men behind Yuchi Tian. She finally remembered that one of them was Yuchi Yen, the fellow who had vowed to forge a sword for Qinin. So they were here for this matter. I wonder what you're looking for me for, Lord. Lin Muyu pursed his lips and cursed inwardly. Sure enough, once the blacksmithing skill was revealed, it would cause trouble. Others might not know what it was, but Yuchi Tian was a famous blacksmith of the present age. How could he not know? He cupped his hands and said respectfully, Old General, that purple ink sword was forged by a hermit master. I don't know where he is now. You won't be able to get any information from me. Yuchi Tian couldn't help but smile. Don't be nervous, Lord. This old man is here not to find him but to find you. Oh, what do you mean? Yuchi Tian smiled calmly. A straightforward man doesn't resort to insinuations. In the last few months, the Chamber of Commerce in Lanyan City has been selling some mysterious and spirit-grade weapons. The forging methods of these weapons are very unique. I've collected a few of them, and after thorough study, I found that the forging methods of the blades are different from those of any blacksmithing family on the continent. The forging methods of the blades are ingenious, and the layering of the blades has probably overturned the millennium-old way of forging weapons on the continent. Lin Muyu's heart was beating like a drum. And then, Yuchi Tian smiled. This method is certainly valuable, but the person's forging methods are hidden well. That's what's most valuable. I'm also right. That hermit certainly doesn't want to reveal his name, so I can't force him. But I can't return from Lanyan City empty-handed. If Lord Lin Muyu knows the layering of the blades, please give it to this old man. I'll reward you handsomely. Lin Muyu racked her brains for a way to refuse. It was then that Yuchi Tian took out a stack of gold notes from his pocket. These are the gold notes of the Imperial Gold Bank. Each one is worth 100,000 jin coins, and there are 50 of them in total. Lord Lin Muyu is willing to teach me the layering edge forging technique. I'll take these 5 million jin coins as my reward. I know that you're an expert in weaponsmithing, so I'm sure you can understand my thirst for knowledge? Lin Muyu nodded. She couldn't help but be moved by the 5 million jin coins. Since old General Yuchi Tian has come to Lanyan City, I won't let your trip be in vain. Please wait for a night and I'll give you the secret manual you want tomorrow. Yes, thank you, Lord. The voice of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor came from Yi. Humph, what a greedy and lecherous Lin Ruoji. Lin Muyu said righteously, at most I'm greedy. Am I lecherous? You aren't. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said bluntly, that night at the Umbrella Dragon Tavern, do you dare say that your hands never touched Qin Yin's breasts? Lin Muyu was speechless. That was an accident. An explanation is a cover-up. Greedy and lecherous Lin Ruoji. Sim. Are you mad? Greedy and lecherous, exasperated, immoral Lin Ruoji. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed proudly. He almost sang these words out loud. Lin Muyu couldn't be bothered with him anymore. She thought to herself that one day she would have to get the 7 luminaries demon emperor out of Yihai. Otherwise, her every word and action would be seen through by another person. It was a weird feeling. Yuqi Tian, Yuqi Yen and a dozen or so retainers stayed in the post house, waiting for Lin Muyu's reply. Naturally, Lin Muyu couldn't find that hermit expert because he was the one. However, he had no choice but to betray his own principles for the sake of these 5 million Jinin coins. 5 million Jinin coins. Even if he sold the entire Kathaya city, it wouldn't be worth this much money. 5 million Jinin coins was equivalent to half of the Imperial Merchant Guild's output. Thus he didn't sleep for long that night. He burned the candle and read through the night, letting Lulu verbally relay all the details and methods of refining weapons into a book. There were many details that even he didn't understand because these weapon forging techniques were relatively simple and unadorned. Lin Muyu, who was closer to the truth, could directly use the refining cauldron to complete the process. It was completely different. The next day Yuqi Tian arrived with his clansmen early in the morning. When he saw the book, it was as if he had found a treasure. After skimming through it a few times, his face was full of enlightened expression. He quickly handed over 50 gold notes and said, "My lord, this old man thanks you on behalf of the entire Yuqi family." "Old general, there's no need to be so polite. After all, I'm taking the money," Lin Muyu said as he counted the gold notes. "In that case, this old man and the others will take their leave immediately." "I won't see you out," Lin Muyu nodded. Everyone had their own thoughts. Yuqi Tian planned to return to Heaven's Pivot Province as soon as possible to restore the reputation of the world's #1 weaponsmithing family. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, wanted to use this money to continue to strengthen and expand the Longdan Army Camp's military strength. Chapter 265. That night Lanyan City was silent. In the depths of the Duke of Seven Seas mansion, Tang Xiaoxi's room was located in the most secluded corner. At this moment the starlight from the sky shone on the ceiling as if attracted by a mysterious force. In the room Tang Xiaoxi sat quietly on the bed. A faint flame energy lingered around her body and merged with the starlight that shone into the room. After an unknown period of time, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly opened her beautiful eyes. Starlight flowed in her palm and a beautiful seal appeared. She gently opened her hand and with a loud bang, the Star Offering Seal, the 5th level of the Firefox seal, directly smashed the table in the room into pieces. Finally, the Star Offering Seal is complete. Tang Xiaoxi secretly rejoiced, but the raging flames around her were still swirling endlessly, and they were emitting sharp whistles. "Oh, what's wrong?" She was stunned. The next moment she felt the blood in her body seem to be surging because of the Star Offering Seal. Her skin faintly emitted a fiery red brilliance, as if her body was about to catch fire. "Ah!" Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable groan and curled up on the bed like an injured little beast. Her body trembled and the flame in her body even shot out through her clothes. In the blink of an eye, the bedding and other things were all set on fire. But it seemed that this was not the end. A charming voice laughed and said in Tang Xiaoxi's body, "Release me. Release me. Who are you?" Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were filled with tears. Because of the pain, her body trembled and she asked loudly, "Who are you?" But no one answered her. Instead, the power in her body made her raise her arm involuntarily. Rays of divine light quickly gathered in her palm and another Firefox seal appeared. With a bang, it suddenly smashed through a corner of the roof. It was the 6th level of the Firefox seal, the God-gathering seal. "Ah ah ah!" Tang Xiaoxi let out a miserable groan. The flame on her left arm was surging and the energy in her palm condensed into a seal, forcing her to raise her palm. The flame flourished. Boom! The entire wall turned to dust. It was the 7th level of the Firefox seal, 5 Qi seal. Outside the wall, the 4 Seven Seas City cavalry guards stared dumbfoundedly at the fire that lingered in the room and shouted, "Princess Shi, what's wrong with you? Princess Shi, you, get away from me." Tang Xiaoxi ordered loudly, but these imperial cavalry were all Tanglan's personal guards. Seeing Tang Xiaoxi in such a state, how could they leave? Oh! Tang Xiaoxi tossed and turned on the bed, endless fire intent surging out from the depths of her qi si. With a weng sound, the Firefox seal appeared in her palm once again. Soul-suppressing seal. This was a seal that even Tang Bin had not successfully cultivated. "Go!" Tang Xiaoxi shouted at the cavalry. The cavalry saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly retreated, but it was too late. The soul-suppressing seal launched an earth-shattering attack. After a loud bang, everything within a 20-meter radius was turned into ashes. None of the 4 cavalry guards survived. Tang Xiaoxi's face was covered in tears, but the flame in her body was still surging. The heaven and earth seemed to have lost their color and the stars in the sky seemed to have dimmed. Countless stars seemed to have fallen at this moment. A firefox seal appeared in Tang Xiaoxi's right palm. Reincarnation seal, the strongest technique of the 7 Seas Tang sect. Boom! The entire Lanyan city seemed to be trembling. The reincarnation seal almost destroyed half of the duke's mansion. Woo-woo! Tang Xiaoxi knelt on the ground in tears. Her body was surrounded by raging flames. She couldn't control this power. It was as if something in her body had suddenly awakened, and this power was destructive. It didn't differentiate between friend and foe. Half of the duke's mansion's servants had already died under her firefox seal. Hehe, let me go. The seductive voice in her body sounded again. I am you and you are me. Let me go. There's no need to endure it anymore. Ah! Tang Xiaoxi hugged her head with her arms and sat there in pain, howling miserably. From afar, another group of servants rushed over and asked loudly, Princess Xi, are you all right? However, at this moment they didn't see Tang Xiaoxi. Instead, it was a young girl kneeling in the raging flames. 9 flaming tails danced behind her and 2 fox ears grew out of her long hair. The raging flames surrounded her and the 9 flaming tails danced seductively, accompanied by a seductive voice. Tang Xiaoxi slowly raised her head, and her beautiful eyes were suffused with a faint golden luster. All her clothes had been burned by the raging flames, and at this moment she was already kneeling there naked. Behind her, the 9 flaming tails swayed gently with her consciousness, but under the cover of the flames, outsiders couldn't see anything at all and didn't know that it was her. What happened to me? What happened to me? Tang Xiaoxi cried and muttered to herself. After the power in her body was released, she could feel that she had at least obtained the power of the 3rd tier of the heavenly state. But so what? She didn't look like a human at all. What's that? From afar, a group of guards watched with their mouths agape. One of them shouted in a low voice, Demon! It's a demon! Heavens, why is that 9-tailed demon in the Duke's residence? Where's Princess Xi? Hurry up, kill this demon and find Princess Xi. A few guards drew their bows and aimed at her. Tang Xiaoxi raised her head and looked at them. Her golden eyes were filled with coldness, and her lips curled into a cold smile. There was an endless murderous intent in her heart, but just as she was about to attack, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly groaned. She was restraining this crazy murderous intent. She couldn't kill anymore or she would really become a demon. Go, we have to escape from here. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were filled with tears. Suddenly, she turned to look in the direction of the Holy Temple and Zetian Palace. Without looking back, she dashed out. Her speed was extremely fast and in the blink of an eye she disappeared into the night. Her 9 fiery tails swayed irregularly. In the night she looked so beautiful. However, this beauty was filled with killing intent. At the north gate of Yanlan City, a group of imperial guards were standing guard. It was late at night and martial law had been imposed. Every night, Yanlan City was prohibited from entering. Hua! A fiery light appeared behind him, immediately causing the group of imperial army soldiers to be dumbfounded. It was a beautiful firefox. Under its 9 dancing tails was the form of a beautiful young lady. Although they couldn't see her clearly due to the lingering flames, they could still vaguely make out the graceful curves of her body and her unparalleled beauty. What's that? The centurion on duty roared. Demon, what kind of demon is this? Men, take her down. A group of imperial guards pulled out their swords and sabers and rushed over, but the 9-tailed fox spirit didn't pay attention to them. In a flash, she flashed through the gap between the imperial guards. She raised her right palm and whimpered. Starlight lingered in her palm. It was the star offering seal, one of the firefox seals. Bang! A large hole in the shape of the star offering seal was blasted on the heavy iron gate of Yanlan City. The 9-tailed fox spirit quickly dashed out and disappeared into the night without looking back. Under the starlight, the beautiful girl transformed into the 9-tailed fox spirit and ran wildly at the edge of the dragon-seeking forest. She closed her eyes and let her tears flow freely. The crystal-clear tears splashed on the newly grown grass in the forest, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into a flame that engulfed the grass. It was as if her entire body was filled with the power of fire. Home, where is home? On top of a giant rock in the wilderness, the girl slowly turned around. A pair of golden eyes reflected the outline of Yanlan City. Home was there, but she could never go back. After a night of drastic changes, the entire Duke of Seven Seas mansion was engulfed in a sea of fire. The fire was only extinguished in the early morning, but many of the servants had died and the Princess Xianxia was nowhere to be found. Nothing could be found. Knock, knock, knock. Before the sun rose, violent knocks echoed on the gate of the holy temple. Who is it? A sleepy holy temple guard opened the peephole and looked outside. He saw a beautiful girl in a princess's cloak standing outside with a group of imperial guards. His heart skipped a beat and he hurriedly opened the gate and knelt on the ground. Your Highness, bring me to see Lin Muyu. Qin Yin's face was gloomy. Yes. At this time Lin Muyu had just finished one cycle of the Dragon Forging Bone Remnant Scroll and was absorbing spiritual energy from the sea spirit field to replenish her overused fighting energy. But at this time there was a violent knock on the door. The guard shouted, Deacon Lin, Her Highness Qin Yin is here to see you. Lin Muyu was dumbfounded. The sun hasn't even risen yet, why is Xiao Yin here? Before he could open the door, a golden light suddenly cut through the room's door. Qin Yin rushed in with the purple ing sword in hand and god-binding chains wrapped around her body. Her face was full of worry. What's wrong, Xiao Yin? Lin Muyu was startled, but he calmly said, Big brother Yu, did you know that there was a big fire in Yanlan City last night? Qin Yin said with red eyes. Yes, I know. Did someone go to put out the fire? Where did the fire start? The Duke of the Seven Seas mansion. Tears rolled down Qin Yin's eyes. Something happened to Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi. What happened to Xiaoxi? Lin Muyu got up and hurriedly grabbed her armor and put it on. She said, Xiaoyin, tell me quickly. The Duke of the Seven Seas mansion was on fire. Xiaoxi disappeared. Someone said they saw a monster. It was a nine-tailed demon fox. Its body was covered in flames. No one dared to go near it. And, last night the same monster broke through the north gate of Yanlan City. Nine-tailed demon fox. Lin Muyu shook his head forcefully and said painfully, Who cares about the nine-tailed demon fox? What happened to Xiaoxi? Is there no trace of her? No, Xiaoxi seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Qin Yin said while crying. Lin Muyu tried his best to calm down, but how could he? There was an ominous feeling in his heart. The nine-tailed demon fox was not simple. It might have a great connection with Tang Xiaoxi. Father has already summoned Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, Zhen Yifan and the others to deal with this matter. Hurry up and follow me to the palace. Qin Yin said. Yes. Lin Muyu quickly put on his cloak and grabbed the dragon spirit sword on the table. Let's go. Chapter 266. There hasn't been a demon in Lanyan City for hundreds of years. In the Zetian Palace, Zheng Yifan had a solemn expression as he said, Your Majesty, no matter where this nine-tailed demon fox came from, we can't just sit back and do nothing. Moreover, Princess She might have already been killed by this nine-tailed demon fox. This old subject suggests that we send the Flying Mount Battalion and the Divine Might Battalion into the dragon-seeking forest to hunt this nine-tailed demon fox. Feng Jixing was silent, his expression ugly. Chu Huayin said, Marquis, we still haven't figured out where this nine-tailed fox came from. Isn't it too much to say to kill it? What else do we need to figure out? Zheng Yifan sneered. Chu Huayin, do you still want to flirt with a demon like this nine-tailed fox? Enough. Lin Muyu shouted, not giving the divine Marquis any face. She turned to Qin Jin and cupped her fists. Your Majesty, I took a look at the seal on the north gate of Lanyan City. I've seen it before. It's the Star Offering Seal, the fifth form of the Seven Seas Tang Sect's Firefox Seal. Qin Jin was stunned. You mean? Lin Muyu nodded. I'm afraid the only person in Lanyan City who can use the Firefox Seal at night is Xiaoxi. Last night, the Imperial Guard said that the seal was left behind by the nine-tailed fox. Then Xiaoxi, Qin Yin was shocked. Brother Yu, are you saying that the fox is Xiaoxi? It's just a guess, but it's very possible. Lin Muyu sighed. No matter what. Your Majesty, please give the order. I'm willing to go to Dragon Forest to find Xiaoxi. As for the others, there's no need. Anyone who dares to mention killing the nine-tailed fox will be my enemy, because that means killing Xiaoxi. Qin Jin couldn't help but frown. Are you really sure that this nine-tailed fox is Xiaoxi? How is that possible? Xiaoxi is Duke Lan's granddaughter. How could she be a monster? Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, regardless of whether this nine-tailed demon fox is Princess Xi or not, the descent of the demon clan is bound to bring disaster and chaos. How can a princess compare to the fortunes and misfortunes of the world? As long as Your Majesty agrees, I am willing to personally lead the Divine Might Battalion into the dragon-seeking forest and capture this nine-tailed demon fox alive. Qin Jin raised his hand lightly and said, Your courage is commendable, but the dragon-seeking forest is steep and dangerous. Your Excellency is an important official of the Empire, so there's no need for you to take the risk yourself. It's better to leave this matter to the four heroes of Lanyan. Zheng Yifan was startled and looked a little confused. His Majesty doesn't trust me anymore. Of course not. Qin Jin smiled. Official Zhenqing doesn't need to be so suspicious. We're just worried about your health. There's no need to say anything else, just leave this matter to Lin Muyu. He has the best personal relationship with Xiaoxi, so he'll definitely live up to everyone's expectations and bring Xiaoxi back safely. However what? Lin Muyu asked. Qin Jin said calmly, However, if this nine-tailed demon fox really is Xiaoxi and has already fallen into the path of demons, then I'll leave it to you to decide. I'll allow you to kill her on the spot. A chill ran down Lin Muyu's spine. Although it was already spring, he couldn't help but shudder. Feng Jixing looked at him with a pained expression. If there's really no other way, why don't I go instead? Lin Muyu shook his head. I'll go. Lin Muyu then raised his head to look at Qin Jin and said, Your Majesty, Lin Muyu will set off immediately. I won't be taking care of the matters of the Divine Temple and the Eagle Nest Camp for the time being. Finding Tang Xiaoxi is the most important thing. Go. Yes. Lin Muyu turned around and left the Zetian Palace. He leaped onto his horse and galloped out of Lanyan City. In the Zetian Palace, everyone was still frowning. Qin Jin's expression was dark and uncertain. Finally, he slammed his fist on the armrest and said, The nine-tailed demon fox has reappeared in the world. Sai, what should we do? Qin Yin said. Father, what will happen if the nine-tailed demon fox reappears in the world? Qin Jin looked at his daughter and said, The last time the nine-tailed demon fox reappeared was more than 9,000 years ago. At that time the Qin Empire had yet to be established. At that time the empire was ruled by the four great empires. After the nine-tailed demon fox descended into the world, she transformed into a peerless beauty and married the Emperor of Qin. She seduced the wise emperor and conquered the entire continent in just 5 years. However, the population of the continent was reduced by more than half. In the end, the nine-tailed demon fox revealed her true form and killed the Emperor of Qin. She massacred 28 cities before flying away. She never returned, leaving behind only a nightmare. Chu Huayin gritted his teeth and said, Your Majesty, this is only a rumor. We don't know if it's true or not. Qin Yin also said, That's right, Father. If the nine-tailed demon fox last night was really Xiaoxi, then it means that she still has a conscience. Otherwise, the imperial guards guarding the city would have all been killed. Feng Jixing also cupped his fists and said, This general agrees with Her Highness Yin's words. This nine-tailed demon fox is definitely not the one from 9,000 years ago. At least she still has a conscience. No matter what, the world is the most important. Qin Jin took a deep breath and said, Minister Zhenqing, do what you think should be done. We will allow you to act on your own, but remember, if you meet Lin Muyu in the dragon-seeking forest, you must not hurt him. Otherwise we will not let you off easily. Zheng Yifan cupped his fists and smiled. Rest assured, Your Majesty. This old subject will not let you down. Father. Qin Yin suddenly cried out, Father, how can you do this? That's Xiaoxi, it's Xiaoxi. Is the empire really that important in your heart that you can completely disregard Xiaoxi's life? Qin Jin frowned. Xiaoyin, you've grown up. You should know how to make choices. This is the pain of growing up. This is cold-bloodedness, not growth. Qin Yin's gaze turned cold. Father, since you've made up your mind, then Xiaoyin will take her leave. Wait, where are you going? Qin Jin asked loudly. However, Qin Yin turned around and left without saying a word. She retrieved her warhorse from outside the main hall and left Zhou Xian Palace alone. Rebellious, really rebellious. Qin Jin gritted his teeth. Feng Jixing hurriedly cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, this general is also going to the dragon-seeking forest? Go. You must ensure Her Highness Yin's safety. Yes. Qin Jin's heart was in a mess. He turned to look at Chu Chu and said, Chu Chu, you're the princess's tutor. Quickly chase after them and ensure Xiao Yin's safety. Yes, this old man will go now. Zhen Yifan, Chu Chu, Feng Jixing and the rest left one after another. The entire Zhou Xian palace was dead silent. Qin Jin's face was filled with pain. After a long time he murmured, Qin Lei, temporarily take charge of the imperial army and ensure the safety of the imperial capital. Chu Huayin, lead the 5,000 Flying Mount Battalion and search for Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Yes. Qin Lei said respectfully. Chu Huayin cupped his fists and raised his head to ask, Your Majesty, what should we do if we find Princess Xi? Qin Jin took a deep breath and said slowly, Don't hurt her. Chu Huayin's face lit up. Yes, this general will go. Thud, thud, thud. The intense sound of horse hooves galloping could be heard at the edge of the dragon-seeking forest. It was noon and Lin Muyu had already galloped for hundreds of miles, but she still couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi. Along the way there were a few burn marks on the ground, but they were intermittent and very soon she lost all clues. Furthermore, she couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi's aura even after using the spirit pulse technique to search. Instead, the aura of spirit beasts appeared within the radius of the spirit pulse technique search. Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. How could she still have the mood to think about spirit beast? Tang Xiaoxi was only one person, and the longer she stayed in the dragon-seeking forest, the more dangerous it would be. Lulu, are you there? As they galloped, Lin Muyu called out to the female elf official. With a whoosh, Lulu's exquisite figure flew out of Yi-Hai and sat on Lin Muyu's shoulder. She smiled and said, Brother, I don't know where Sister Tang Xiaoxi is either. But you're more familiar with the dragon-seeking forest than I am. Where do you think Xiaoxi would go? Lin Muyu asked. Brother, you're being too concerned. Lulu frowned and said, The dragon-seeking forest has a radius of thousands of miles, so how would Lulu know where Tang Xiaoxi would go? Moreover, you should be the one asking. You know Tang Xiaoxi better than Lulu, so you should know where she would go. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Xiaoxi, she might think that she can't go back to Lanyan City. Looking at her, she must be very sad and unwilling to see us again. Maybe she will go back to another home? Qihai City? Brother, if you think so, then let's go to Qihai City. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Then let's go to Qihai City. Lulu, draw a map for me. Okay. In his mind, the female elf officer quickly drew a large map of the dragon-seeking forest for him, marking the traces of the Seven Seas City in the distance. The Seven Seas Pass was a path that he had to pass through. Perhaps with the speed of the warhorse he could enter the Seven Seas Pass before Tang Xiaoxi. When the time came he would stand guard there. This was the highest possibility of meeting Tang Xiaoxi. However, Lin Muyu didn't know that since Tang Xiaoxi was unwilling to meet him and Qin Yin in the form of a nine-tailed fox, why would Tang Xiaoxi be willing to meet Tang Lan and the Tang sect in this form? The afterglow of the setting sun shone on Qihai City, and night fell on this famous northern city again. Whoosh! A messenger bird flapped its wings and landed in the courtyard. Tang Bin, who was brewing tea, was slightly stunned and frowned. Where did this messenger bird come from? Men, bring it to me. Yes. A guard brought the messenger bird over. Tang Bin took out the letter and glanced at it. His face was full of shock. Young master, what's wrong? The guard asked. Tang Bin gritted his teeth. Xiaoxi has demonized. Demonized? What's demonized? Xiaoxi went berserk while cultivating the fire fox seal. She has already turned into a nine-tailed fox and descended into the world. Don't say anything else. Prepare the men and gather all the elites in my mansion. After reporting to grandfather, we will set off to the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Yes. The guard cupped his fists and raised his head. His eyes flickered with a strange light as he said, Young master. Princess Xi is the biggest competitor for the inheritance of Seven Seas City. Young master, are you really going to rescue Princess Xi from the dragon forest? Xiaoxi is my younger sister. Of course I have to save her. A chill flashed in Tang Bin's eyes. But the nine-tailed fox is not my younger sister. Chapter 267. 2 days and 2 nights later, although it was already spring, the Seven Seas Pass still seemed to be frozen in ice and snow. Moreover, the sky was still drifting with large snowflakes. Lin Muyu slowly rode her horse to the outskirts of the city, but she did not enter. She raised her pear-blossom spear and silently guarded the barren forest, allowing the snow to fall on her body. Woo-woo, beside the horse's hooves the Acatosaurus whimpered, its body slightly curled up. It seemed to be complaining that this place was extremely cold and asking Lin Muyu why she had to come to this kind of place to suffer. Lin Muyu was worried about Tang Xiaoxi. She dismounted and gently stroked the little dragon's head. Your big sister Xiaoxi is in danger. We have to protect her. The Acatosaurus seemed to understand. It slowly raised its head, then used its head to rub against Lin Muyu's arm and nestled in her embrace. The human and pet were together, keeping each other warm. Outside the Seven Seas Pass was the dragon-seeking forest. It was not safe and very few merchants dared to pass through here during the day. Even if they dared to go on the main road, they would gather at least 100 people before setting off. Even the Tianchong Legion's patrols that went out of the city had at least 100 people. As night fell, Lin Muyu shivered as she started a bonfire in the sea of snow. The little dragon whimpered as it took up residence in the surroundings. This time Lin Muyu had come out in a hurry and did not prepare anything. Thus she had no tent or food. She could only melt some snow for drinking water. As for food, it was a wild rabbit that she had hunted in the mountains not long ago. The wild rabbit on the bonfire gave off a strong fragrance. Lin Muyu only had time to eat one leg before the rest was eaten by the Acatosaurus. This little fellow's appetite was too good. It ate more than half of the rabbit, but it was still complaining about being hungry. It was no wonder, as it usually ate at least 7 or 8 rabbits a day. Lin Muyu's gaze never left the great Dao. At the same time, the spirit pulse technique was also maintained in a state of activation. Not a single aura in the surroundings could escape his senses. The pear blossom spear stabbed into the snow at the side. Hugging the dragon spirit sword, he slowly fell asleep. But not long after, he suddenly opened his eyes. In the southeast direction, a very strong aura was rapidly approaching. Xiaoxi. He opened his eyes and looked hopefully into the distance. However, he was disappointed. Not long after, a bloodthirsty tiger appeared in his field of vision. This was a bloodthirsty tiger that came out to hunt at the beginning of spring. There were 3 golden lines on its head. It was a 3,000-year-old spirit beast. In the past, it would have been a deadly existence, but now, this 3,000-year-old bloodthirsty tiger was not even worthy of Lin Muyu's attention. However, because of the spirit pulse technique, Lin Muyu's aura was restrained. Thus, in the eyes of the bloodthirsty tiger, Lin Muyu was nothing more than a delicious meal. Its paws lightly landed on the snow and it walked step by step towards Lin Muyu. The bloodthirsty tiger's eyes were filled with a fierce light. It could not wait to enjoy this delicious meal. Lin Muyu let out a long sigh. He could not help but feel disappointed. He had thought that this aura belonged to Tang Xiaoxi. Thus, he gently stroked the little dragon's head. The feast is coming soon. Wait for it. The Acatosaurus raised its head and rubbed against his arm. It howled as if to say, "Then why aren't you going?" However, Lin Muyu could not be bothered to move. He was waiting for the bloodthirsty tiger to make the first move. Sure enough, after circling the area for 2 rounds, the bloodthirsty tiger suddenly pounced towards Lin Muyu with a furious roar. It swung its claws repeatedly, using the severing attack that it was famous for. However, this time, it was obviously unable to sever the claws. Lin Muyu raised his palm, and the golden gourd emerged from his body to form the wall of the gourd. Kill! The dragon spirit sword was quickly unsheathed. It contained the golden power of dawn and sliced through the air. Roar! Although the bloodthirsty tiger was roaring, its roar was clearly laced with fear. It hurriedly retreated a few steps and used the steel fur on its head to block the attack. The bloodthirsty tiger's fur was extremely tough, especially for a bloodthirsty tiger that had lived for thousands of years. Ordinary swords would not be able to cut through it. However, the current Lin Muyu was no longer the same as before. The moment the dragon spirit sword touched the bloodthirsty tiger's head, he already felt that it would not be able to cut through it in one blow. However, this did not affect him. The power of dawn on the blade transformed into a ray of sword chi and shot out. Light-splitting slash. The bloodthirsty tiger howled in pain and retreated. Its head and fur were undamaged, but brain matter splattered out and flowed down its chin. Under the might of the light-splitting slash, even a 3,000-year-old spiritual beast would not be able to escape the fate of being instantly killed. Go. With Lin Muyu's order, the Acatosaurus immediately pounced over and bit through the bloodthirsty tiger's throat. After confirming that it was dead, it began to enjoy its meal. It devoured the bloodthirsty tiger's beast soul and spiritual core. In the blink of an eye, it had devoured half of the 300-kilogram bloodthirsty tiger. Its appetite was truly frightening. After eating its fill, the Acatosaurus curled up beside Lin Muyu with its mouth full of blood. It suddenly opened its mouth and let out a burp, spitting out flames that melted the surrounding snow and created a warm, dry ground. Then it curled up head to tail and slept, snoring loudly. At the same time, 3 silver lines appeared on its forehead. After devouring the bloodthirsty tiger's origin soul, the little dragon had already evolved into an 800-year-old spiritual beast. The growth rate of the holy dragon tribe was truly astonishing. Lin Muyu did not disturb its sleep. After absorbing so much spiritual energy, the Acatosaurus needed a good sleep to digest it and make it its own. Even when dawn came, there was still no sign of Tang Xiaoxi. However, the Acatosaurus was already jumping around in the snow like a little puppy. Lin Muyu was not in the mood to enjoy its fun and continued to guard the snow with a heavy heart. But at this moment, suddenly, the rumbling sound of iron chains came from the Seven Seas Pass, and the iron gate slowly opened. Have the patrols come out again? Lin Muyu thought to herself. However, it was not the patrols who came out, but a group of people in Seven Seas Province's military uniform. Moreover, there were quite a few of them, close to 2,000 people, all wearing the same armor and weapons. It seemed that the people of Seven Seas City had also received the news. Lin Muyu frowned, but found that the 2,000 people of Seven Seas City were actually coming straight for her. They were very fast and it was already too late to get on a horse to dodge. There's someone there, surround him. When Lin Muyu stood up, she was already heavily surrounded. A group of Seven Seas City soldiers looked at her with swords drawn, as if they might attack at any time. Lightly patting the badge on her shoulder and the imperial military rank on her collar, Lin Muyu said lightly, "Are your dog eyes blind? Don't you recognize these?" A centurion respectfully cupped his fists and said, "General, we recognize the military rank, but the area outside the Seven Seas Pass is originally a restricted area. May I know why you are here alone? I'll go wherever I want. Besides, this is the territory of North Ridge Province, not Seven Seas City." "But you..." Lin Muyu raised her sword-like eyebrows and shouted angrily, "The army of Seven Seas Province dares to trespass the imperial territory without the emperor's order. What crime do you deserve?" The centurion was stunned by the scolding and was speechless. At this time, the crowd of the army slowly separated, and a man wearing the armor of a senior officer rode over and said with a smile, "I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be the second of the 4 heroes of Lanyan, Lin Muyu. Tang Bin." Lin Muyu also recognized him and said, "Lin Muyu greets young master Tang Bin." "No need to be so polite." Tang Bin looked at him deeply and said, "Lord Lin Muyu is now the general of the south and also the commander of the Eagle Nest camp. Why would you come to the Seven Seas Pass alone?" Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes. "I'm afraid you have to ask young master Tang Bin this question. Didn't you also bring a large group of people over?" Tang Bin revealed a sorrowful expression and said, "Yes, we have received Yu's letter early in the morning. It is unknown whether Xiaoxi is alive or dead. Grandfather is very worried about her safety, so he sent more than 2,000 warriors of the family personally led by me to the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi's whereabouts." Lin Muyu, Darren, the purpose of your trip is? Lin Muyu cupped her fists. "I entered the dragon-seeking forest to search for Xiaoxi under His Majesty's imperial edict. So our purpose is the same." Tang Bin smiled slightly. "Lord, entering the dragon-seeking forest alone, one fear that something bad will happen. How about you follow us to search for Xiaoxi? How about it?" "This," Lin Muyu smiled. "I'm used to being alone, so it's better for me to be alone." "Really?" A trace of coldness flashed past Tang Bin's eyes as he said with a smile, "Xiaoxi is grandfather's most doted junior. Her life and death is related to the fate of the entire Seven Seas city, so there must not be any mistakes in this matter. Lord Lin Mu Darren should come with us. Otherwise, if anything happens, Tang Bin will not be able to explain to grandfather and his majesty. Lord is a person who understands the circumstances. You should know what to do and what not to do, right? At the side, the old man who was called Elder Jing also smiled and said, Lord Lin Muyu, let's go together. Anyway, our purpose is the same. Around them, a group of Seven Seas city guards had already revealed their ferocious looks. Under Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique, the strength of these people was clear to her. Tang Bin's cultivation had improved a lot and had already reached the peak of the first heaven of the heavenly state, while that Elder Jing was at the second heaven of the heavenly state. There were also a dozen or so people who were at the third heaven of the earth state, and many of them were not much weaker. If they really fought, Lin Muyu had almost no chance of winning. The people of Seven Seas City came in a menacing manner, and they looked like they came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu naturally knew her limits, so she nodded and said, Then let's go together to find Xianxia. With that, she mounted the horse and sheathed the dragon spirit sword with a clang. She raised her hand to grab the handle of the pear blossom spear and pulled it out of the snow. Acatosaurus roared and followed closely behind. Tang Bin glanced at Acatosaurus, and a trace of astonishment flashed in his eyes, but he did not make any big movements. Although Lin Muyu was alone, it was not easy to kill him, and once he escaped, it would probably cause a big uproar when he returned to the imperial capital. Tang Bin also knew his limits. He would not make a move unless he was absolutely sure. Chapter 268. At the northern border of the dragon-seeking forest, everything was revived and the place was filled with lush greenery. Qin Yin, Feng Jixing and Chu Chu rode on their horses, followed by 2,000 imperial guards. Zhang Wei walked in front of the imperial guards with a steel saber in hand. He was the guard leader appointed by Feng Jixing for this trip. Your Highness, we've entered the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. Chu Chu frowned. There are spirit beasts that have lived for more than 5,000 years here. I'm worried that if we go deeper, the imperial guards might not be able to protect themselves even if we can protect ourselves. Feng Jixing nodded. Yes, we were attacked by a dragon snake when we entered the dragon-seeking forest. Of the thousands of imperial guards, a few hundred were killed. The attacks of large spirit beasts are not to be underestimated. Qin Yin's face was covered by a cloak. She sighed softly. Then let them wait here or return to Lanyan City on their own. We'll continue to look for Xiaoxi. Zhang Wei quickly cupped his fists. Your Highness, why are you looking down on us? As members of the imperial guards, we'd rather die in the dragon-seeking forest than be cowardly. Moreover, the more people we have, the greater the search area. The dragon-seeking forest is so huge that it's too difficult to find a single person. Naturally, the more the better. Qin Yin's voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. What does General Feng think? Feng Jixing's expression was calm. Pass down my order. Every 100 people in a group, bring along war drums and torches. Once we encounter a powerful spirit beast, light the torches immediately. Spirit beasts are usually afraid of fire. Also, the noise from the war drums can intimidate the spirit beasts. So, don't stray too far away. Find Princess Xi as soon as possible. Yes. Zhang Wei nodded. Chu Chu took out a map scroll and glanced at it. If we go any further, we'll reach the legendary Blood Marsh. The Blood Marsh is filled with poisonous gas. Should we take a detour? Blood Marsh. Qin Yin's gaze was serene. She said faintly, order the army to station outside. Elder Chu, follow me into the blood swamp to find out what's going on. Your Highness, are you really going to enter the Blood Marsh? Yes. Qin Yin turned to look at Chu Chu and said, I have the blood of the true dragon flowing in my veins, so the poisonous gas in the Blood Marsh can't do anything to me. Chu has a sanctuary realm body, so he shouldn't be afraid of some poisonous gas. There are so many of us, but Xiaoxi is alone. I don't know how she survived alone in the dragon-seeking forest. To follow me in. This old one obeys. Chu Chu nodded. Feng Jixing raised his wind cutter and ordered everyone to stay where they were. Blood Qi rose up in front of them as if it was purgatory on earth. The water in the Blood Marsh was the color of blood, and it was boiling non-stop. Occasionally, some poisonous creatures like snakes and scorpions would scuttle past. It looked very frightening. Feng Jixing's cultivation was not bad, But he was still immortal in terms of resistance to poison, so he couldn't act rashly. Qin Yin got off the horse and stepped into the blood marsh step by step. 3 golden god-binding chains circled around her, protecting her from the invasion of any poisonous gas. Chu Chu also circulated his sanctuary realm battle energy, forming a protective wall around him to block the invasion of the poisonous gas. Looking at Qin Yin's figure in front of him, he couldn't help but sigh. It was said that the Qin clan's bloodline was inherited from the true dragon. It seemed that this was true. Ordinary people would die within half a minute after entering the blood marsh, but Qin Yin was safe and sound as she walked in the blood marsh. Jie. In the darkness, a dark red lizard was sticking out its red tongue as it followed Qin Yin from a distance. There were 5 golden patterns on its head, and it was clearly a 5,000-year-old spirit beast. A few smaller lizards followed behind it, and they were all at least 3,000-year-old spirit beasts. The group of lizards glared at the people who had entered the blood swamp, and they looked like they were ready to attack at any time. "Be careful, Your Highness," Chu Chu reminded. Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, "And it's fine." She walked on the dry, blood-colored ground. Suddenly her doqi rose. With every step she took, the pale golden god-binding chains turned into ripples that spread out in all directions, carrying with it the faint sound of a divine oracle. A wave of true Dragon King's energy was contained within. Suddenly, those lizards in the distance screeched and retreated one after another. It was as if they had seen a true dragon. They shrunk back into the cave, not daring to look up again. Chu Chu clicked his tongue in wonder and looked around, saying, "Your Highness, it seems like no one has been here for the time being. Let's go, staying here will only be a waste of time." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes looked around, and indeed there was no trace of Tang Xiaoxi's aura. She reached out to cover her face with her cloak and nodded, saying, "And let's go." After exiting the blood marsh, Feng Jixing hurriedly raised his blade and walked forward, asking with concern, "Your Highness, are you all right?" Qin Yin smiled faintly, "I'm fine, let's continue." "But Your Highness, it's already night, why don't we set up camp and rest, then continue the search tomorrow morning?" "No." Qin Yin's gaze was unusually firm. "General Feng, the longer we wait, the longer Xiaoxi will be in danger. I feel a little uneasy. Xiaoxi's current situation is definitely not better than ours." "Yes, Your Highness." Chu Chu flipped over and mounted his horse, catching up to Qin Yin's warhorse, saying, "Your Highness, actually I have something to say, but I'm not sure if I should say it." "Chu Chu, go ahead." Qin Yin's voice was calm. Chu Chu nodded, cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, according to you speculation and various signs, that 9-tailed fox demon is very likely to be Princess Xi, and as far as I know, the 9-tailed fox demon is very powerful. If Xiaoxi has really transformed into a 9-tailed fox, then her current strength should not be inferior to mine. Let me ask, in the entire world, how many people can still hurt Xiaoxi?" Qin Yin's eyes flickered and she turned to look at Chu Chu, saying, "Chu, can Zhen Yifan do it?" Chu Chu was stunned and he remained silent. Feng Jixing took a deep breath and said, "All troops listen up, continue advancing." In the blink of an eye, another 2 days passed, and this was already the 4th day since Tang Xiaoxi left Lanyan City. To the northwest of the dragon-seeking forest, a majestic group of people passed through the forest, but many soldiers were lying on the backs of their horses, wailing incessantly, and blood seeped through their clothes. This was already the 7th time the army of Qihai City had encountered a spirit beast in the dragon-seeking forest, and this time, it was an 8,200-year-old sword-horn beast. After a fierce battle, the army of Qihai City lost more than 100 people, and even Elder Jing was slightly injured. Although his cultivation was not bad, he did not have the wall of a bottle gourd to protect himself like Lin Muyu. Although he could kill the spirit beast, he could not escape unscathed. From the beginning to the end, Lin Muyu maintained a wait-and-see attitude, and did not have the slightest intention of making a move, because he saw vigilance and hostility in the eyes of Tang Bin and the others. Perhaps in the eyes of many people he, the adopted son of the emperor, was just a dog kept by the emperor. A guard rode forward and said respectfully, "Young master, Yingzhao Mountain is just ahead." Yingzhao Mountain? Yes, Yingzhao Mountain got its name because of its resemblance to an ancient beast called Yingzhao. But according to the records in the Dragon-Seeking Journal, Yingzhao Mountain is a dangerous place. Thousands of years ago, the footprints of a 10,000-year-old sacred beast were found in Yingzhao Mountain. No one has been to Yingzhou Mountain in the last 100 years. Should we go around and not enter Yingzhou Mountain? No. Tang Bin shook his head and said, even if there is a 10,000-year-old sacred beast, we still have to enter Yingzhou Mountain. We do not know where Xiaoxi is now and we cannot let go of any possible place. Tonight we will set up camp in Yingzhou Mountain. We will leave early tomorrow morning and continue advancing eastward. Yes. Tang Bin then said, prepare food and wine. It is chilly in the spring and we will hold a banquet in the camp tonight. We will entertain Lady Lin Muyu. Yes, I will prepare it right away. Lin Muyu smiled coldly at the side and said, young master, you are too kind. There is no need for a banquet. I am used to starving outside and I am already very grateful for the food you have provided me for the past 2 days. What are you saying, lady? You would rather enter the dragon-seeking forest alone to find Xiaoxi. This is what I should do as a brother. Then I will not hold back. Ah, that is right. Further ahead, a lone peak stood between heaven and earth. It looked like a warhorse except that there were 2 cliffs on its back which looked like wings. This was the origin of Yingzhou Mountain. However, unlike what was described in Seeking the Dragon, there were no 10,000-year-old sacred beasts in Yingzhou Mountain. It was just a pack of wolves that were 1,000 to 2,000 years old, and they were quickly dispersed by the soldiers' torches and the clamor. They set up camp and rested. The central tent was occupied by Tang Bin, and the banquet was set up for the banquet. There were 3 tables of wine, which were used to entertain the generals who had worked hard on the journey. Lin Muyu was one of them. Tang Bin and Elder Jing were very enthusiastic in their hospitality. After drinking a lot of wine, Lin Muyu's face was already slightly red. She leaned against the side of the table, the knee pads of the holy temple armor against the legs of the table to maintain her balance. She was very drunk. General Lin? Elder Jing asked tentatively. Tang Bin also smiled and said, Lady Lin Muyu, have you drunk too much? Lin Muyu did not say anything, but she extended her spiritual pulse technique, focusing her spiritual senses between Tang Bin and Elder Jing, and even began to infiltrate their thoughts. Not long after, she heard a voice from the bottom of Tang Bin's heart, as if she was hallucinating. Could it be that this boy really has drunk too much? He's so drunk that he's like mud, it's only a matter of a single slash. Moreover, he has a close relationship with little Shi. I'll first kill this brat, then after I find little Shi I'll secretly kill her. Presumably when I return, grandfather won't be able to blame me. Very good, but the problem is, where is little Shi? The 9-tailed demon fox, hee. What the hell is that? Our Tang family does not have such a monster. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart when she heard this. It seemed that her spiritual pulse technique had gradually gained the ability to read minds. For scum like Tang Bin, who was not mentally strong and had an incomplete soul, it was easy to read his mind. But that Elder Jing was different. He had a strong will and it was almost impossible to read anything. But that was enough. Tang Bin wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi and that was an indisputable fact. It was time to escape. If they did not leave now, they would definitely die in Yingzhou Mountain tonight. At this moment, Lin Muyu suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were drowsy and swaying, and she smiled as she took out the dragon talisman from her bosom. Laughing loudly, she said, "Do you recognize this item?" Tang Bin and the others saw it, and many of the generals were so scared that they knelt on the ground. Dragon talisman, it is the dragon talisman. Seeing the dragon talisman was like seeing the emperor. Lin Muyu quickly stuffed the dragon talisman into her bosom and said with a smile, "It is good that you recognize it. Now I am going to relieve myself. Aha, generals, please continue drinking. There is no need to wait for me." She left the tent in a drunken state. The cold wind blew and she was immediately refreshed. She went straight to the west side of the camp. But Elder Jing's cold voice came from behind her. "General Lin, where do you think you are going? Men, catch him." How could Lin Muyu possibly turn around? She dove into the bushes and activated the falling star steps. Her entire body seemed to have transformed into a sharp ray of light as she fell into the distance. In an instant, the camp was thrown into chaos. One by one, the soldiers of Seven Seas City mounted their horses, but how could the horses catch up to Lin Muyu in the forest? In the cold wind, a figure could be seen flying over. It was Jing Lao. This Elder Jing was Tang Bin's man, not Tang Lon or Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu suddenly made up her mind. Kill. Chapter 269. Xiao. A chilling palm blade came from behind. This was Jing Lao's attack. This person cultivated the law of ice and even his words were cold. He didn't use any weapons. Since he cultivated the profound ice technique, he could kill his opponent with his bare hands. Lin Muyu suddenly dodged to the side. She only saw a strand of frosty battle energy flying past her nose. Bang! It landed on a rock at the side and created a hole. Frost quickly condensed on the rock. This Jing Lao's cultivation was indeed not to be underestimated. Dang! Lin Muyu pulled out the dragon spirit sword. With a shake of her wrist, she slashed out a sword energy. She continued to run forward while Jing Lao was blocking the attack with his palms. This place was still very close to the camp. She had to lure Jing Lao to a farther place to finish him off. Otherwise, it would bring him unnecessary trouble. Are you afraid? Jing Lao laughed wildly. His battle energy enshrouded his entire body. A black berserk beast martial soul appeared on his shoulders. He chased after Lin Muyu and laughed heartily. What a good foster son of the emperor. You're just a dog. From now on, the emperor will no longer have a foster son. Lin Muyu stopped abruptly, turned around and swung his sword again. However, he only used 70% of his strength, forcing Elder Jing to take a few steps back. However, he himself also took 7 to 8 steps back, which made him look like he was powerless. One must have good acting skills in order to survive. Lin Muyu lightly bumped into a pine tree and his body bounced back a little. With an expression of unwillingness on his face, he said, If you kill me here, someone will definitely find out. At that time, Imperial Father will definitely destroy the entire Seven Seas city to avenge me. How ridiculous! Jing Lao's face was full of contempt. He slapped again and shouted angrily, Who do you think you are? You want to make the Emperor angry at the Seven Seas city? Dream on. However, Elder Jing felt a chill in his heart. He knew that he had to kill Lin Muyu today. Otherwise, if the matter was exposed, whether it was the Emperor or Tanglon, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Elder Jing's palm strike was faster than the previous one, causing the battle aura armor around Lin Muyu's body to dissipate over and over again. Even the corner of Lin Muyu's mouth was bleeding. But he kept running and retreating. In the blink of an eye, he had run for nearly 5 miles, far away from the camp of Seven Seas City. Even Yingzhou Mountain was just a shadowy hill under the moonlight. At that moment, Lin Muyu suddenly turned around. Her entire temperament seemed to have changed in an instant. Her fighting chi was suddenly raised to the peak. She waved her palm gently and the golden gourd martial spirit came out of her body. She added the shell of the tortoise and the dragon scale wall one after the other, and she slapped at Elder Jing's palm. Bang! Lin Muyu did not seem to be at a disadvantage in this attack. Elder Jing's palm landed on the wall of the gourd, causing sparks to fly. However, the recoil from the wall of the gourd made Elder Jing's arms numb. He could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Could it be that this brat had been pretending to be weak all along? Show me what you've got or you'll die very quickly. Lin Muyu smiled. The dragon spirit sword in her hand made a joyful sound, and at the same time, the 7 planets Xian energy in her arm poured into the sword. Jing Lao trembled and his whole face seemed to be twisted. He said, You bastard. After saying that, Jing Lao's face became even more twisted. Sharp horns extended out from his shoulders, piercing through his body and dripping with blood. A horn also appeared on his head. His dou qi surged and his muscles swelled. At this moment, Jing Lao didn't look like a human at all. Instead, he looked like an evil spirit. What's that? Lin Muyu said lightly. Jing Lao had a mocking look on his face. You don't even understand the beast martial souls combination realm. I've followed Master Lan to battle all over the world and I've made many achievements. Who on this continent doesn't know my name? You ignorant person, go to hell. Jing Lao suddenly attacked with his palm, and the image of a fierce tiger appeared in his palm. He roared, Fierce tiger descends the mountain. Fighting chi surged. This was not a simple attack. It was obvious that Jing Lao had used the combination realm and martial soul to greatly increase his cultivation. The power of this attack was no less than the 3rd heaven of the heaven realm. Lin Muyu secretly circulated her strength, and the 7 planets Xian energy crazily poured into the long sword. She suddenly grabbed the sword hilt with both hands and attacked with the shocking thunder wild wave, chaos of the common people. Bang! Fire and frost rushed into the sky, and the surroundings were as bright as day. Jing Lao's face looked even more ferocious under the strong light. Pfft. Lin Muyu spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps. Her strength was inferior after all. However, Jing Lao was not much better. His arms were a little numb and the chaos of the common people's Xian energy was very overbearing. Even if it couldn't hurt him, it wouldn't make him feel good. Good lad, you're really something. Jing Lao grinned ferociously and opened his palms. Streaks of frost lingered on his arms as if they had a mind of their own. He laughed confidently and said, "You forced me to combine realm and beast and now this is your fate. Prepare to die." Lin Muyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and couldn't help but smile. He held the long sword with both hands again, and the golden gourd martial soul lingered around him. The wind danced wildly and his cloak fluttered. He looked like a god descending to the mortal world, mighty and awe-inspiring. This time he skipped the second and third luminaries. His soul power had greatly increased with his cultivation, and he could control the power of the fourth luminaries. The true dragon essence fire flowed from his arms into the long sword, and at the same time, the cry of the four luminaries demon and god appeared on the sword. Jing Lao roused his dou qi and suddenly put his palms together. His body speed increased and he rushed over, shouting, "Die! Cold ice descends." Lin Muyu didn't say a word and brazenly slashed with his sword. True dragon essence fire, cry of the four luminaries demon and god. The space seemed to have been distorted by the 7 planets' Xian energy, and this small space had completely become Lin Muyu's territory under the force field of the cry of the 4 luminaries demon and god. Naturally, the power of this move had greatly increased. Boom! Ice and fire collided and the momentum was monstrous. The soaring flame wave and the frost collided, and the impact caused the surrounding forest to collapse, and the gravel on the ground rolled in all directions. Ugh! Jing Lao let out a miserable howl. His opponent's Xian energy was endless, and even after exhausting the cold ice descends, he still had the strength to counterattack. Jing Lao's arms were bleeding and he was injured. B*****. How could you possibly defeat me? Jing Lao roared and like a ferocious beast he suddenly covered the ground with his palms. Suddenly the ground started to tremble, and the frost elements in the surrounding quickly rushed into Jing Lao's body. Was he going to borrow the power of the earth's frost? Lin Muyu was slightly stunned, but he naturally had a way to deal with it. He raised his hand and sheathed his sword and suddenly placed his left arm in front of his chest. This arm, which was remolded by the divine power of the profound spirit ruler, not only contained Xian energy, but also the vast true dragon power. Under the urging of Lin Muyu's power, his entire arm was surrounded by flames, and a golden true dragon was circling around it. At the same time he suddenly concentrated the 3 luminaries calamities Xian energy, and suddenly the power of all living beings in the world seemed to be surging toward Lin Muyu. Whether it was the spiritual beasts, trees, or strange stones with spiritual power, every bit of power could be used by him. This power of borrowing the power of nature was far from what Elder Jing could compare to. Jing Lao raised his head and when he saw Lin Muyu standing in the same place with the dragon power circling around his left arm, his whole body trembled. He lowered his head and tears suddenly flowed out of his eyes. "Master Lan, I, Sima Jing, can no longer follow you to conquer the world. I wish you a peaceful life without worries." Roar! Elder Jing suddenly rushed over, and there was an inhuman roar coming from his mouth. He opened his palm and endless coldness surged out of his palm. This was the killing intent of his move. Lin Muyu looked up and suddenly exerted force under his feet. His left arm was also blasted out with the vast Xian energy of flames. Bam! The earth-shaking and mountain-shaking attacks collided with each other. Even the point where the two collided quickly spun and condensed into a barrier of fire and ice. Chua shua! It rapidly spun. In the next moment, Elder Jing let out a miserable howl. The veins in his arms burst open and blood splashed everywhere. It was a tragic sight to behold. Both of his arms had been crippled in an instant. "I'll grant you a quick death." Lin Muyu still had some strength left. She leaped forward with her sword, and the sword light directly slashed at Elder Jing's neck. Elder Jing's eyes widened and he roared, "I have battle armor to protect me. You want to kill me with this scrap of metal? The young master will be here soon. Just wait for your death, Lin Muyu." However, Lin Muyu didn't say a word and her sword began to fall quickly. With a bang, the dragon spirit sword was unable to break the battle armor, and was directly blocked by the chi armor. But with a flash of light, the light-splitting slash penetrated the battle armor and fell directly on Elder Jing's neck. The light-splitting slash passed through the battle armor, and a huge rock behind him was forcibly cut in half. Elder Jing let out a beast-like howl, and the next moment blood splattered, and his entire head turned over and fell from his neck. Lin Muyu watched indifferently as Elder Jing fell. She quickly walked forward and reached for a small spatial bag at Elder Jing's waist. She didn't even have time to check what was inside. She stuffed the bag into her clothes, sheathed her sword, and leaped more than 10 meters away, disappearing in the cold forest in the blink of an eye. The night wind was cold and only Elder Jing's corpse was left lying there. It quickly turned cold and even the blood that had spilled on the rock quickly froze. Winner takes all and loser takes all. This was the law of this world. Elder Jing and Lin Muyu both knew that since they had already laid their cards on the table, one of them had to die. Although Lin Muyu was kind, he wasn't a coward. If anyone wanted to kill him, he wouldn't hesitate to kill them first. As the young master of the Long Xian group, he wasn't a good person. Once he became ruthless, any of his opponents would probably tremble in fear. Otherwise, Lin Muyu wouldn't have been able to sit on the throne of the martial god. In the cold night, they sped through the forest with falling star steps. Awoo! The little dragon's cry came from the other space and it seemed to be acting coquettishly. Lin Muyu didn't pay attention to it. Instead of the joy of defeating Elder Jing, he was more worried about Tang Xiaoxi's whereabouts. Under the moonlight, he seemed to be all alone. Chapter 270. Amidst the sound of hooves, Tang Bin arrived with a group of heavy cavalry from Seven Seas City, only to see that a large piece of empty land in the fertile land had been turned into a battlefield. All the withered trees had been uprooted by the wind, and there were even 3 large pits in the ground. Every collision between 2 experts would leave a deep pit. Beneath a huge rock, Sima Jing's cold corpse lay there with his head separated from his body. Tang Bin's body trembled and he got off his horse. Under the illumination of the torch, he looked at Sima Jing's corpse with a livid expression. His eyes were bloodshot as he said, "Who did this?" A young clansman said with a cold expression, "Apart from Lin Muyu, who else has the ability to kill Elder Jing here?" Moreover, Elder Jing's head was chopped off with a single slash, and the cut was very smooth. Lin Muyu is skilled with the sword, so who else could it be? Another clansman gritted his teeth and said, "Lin Muyu is a bastard. Our Seven Seas City treated him so well, but he actually repaid our kindness with enmity and killed Elder Jing." Bastard. Tang Bin's body trembled slightly and he was completely dispirited. After losing Sima Jing, it was as if he had lost an arm. He knew Sima Jing's strength very well. Sima Jing was at the peak of the 2nd heaven of the heaven state, but once he shapeshifted, his strength would at least be at the 3rd heaven of the heaven state. There was no need to mention the dangers in the dragon-seeking forest. Whether they could kill the 9-tailed fox demon after losing Sima Jing was a problem. After a while he said calmly, "Bury Elder Jing on the spot." "But young master," one of the attendants said, "Elder Jing has followed Duke Lan for decades, and his military exploits are outstanding. Today he died here. Can we bring Elder Jing's body back to Seven Seas City for burial? That is his hometown." Tang Bin's gaze turned cold and he said, "Our mission this time is to find Xiaoxi. Although Elder Jing has made great contributions to Seven Seas City, is he more important than Xiaoxi? Moreover, Elder Jing is a soldier and dying in battle is a kind of final destination. Bury him and then continue searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts." "Yes, young master." At dawn, Lin Muyu, who had been running for her life, had exhausted a lot of her energy. She suddenly threw a punch through the air. The 4-dimensional energy surged and forcefully tore open a spatial crack 14 meters away. The Acatosaurus cub quickly crawled out of the spatial crack while howling. It knew that its master could only maintain the spatial crack for 10 seconds at most. It did not want to be trapped by the disappearing spatial crack. Howl. The little dragon ran to Lin Muyu's leg, rubbed against its owner's leg and rolled on the ground happily. Lin Muyu could not help but smile and a warm feeling welled up in her heart. She thought about how Tang Xiaoxi loved this Acatosaurus in the hunting ground, but now she was nowhere to be found and people even called her a monster. Lin Muyu felt very sad. She hugged the Acatosaurus and sat under the tree, her body trembling slightly. After a long time, the weakened state of the falling star step disappeared. Lin Muyu immediately stood up and picked up some dry firewood to start a bonfire. At the same time, she used the magic noise blade to kill a rabbit, skinned it and roasted it on a tree branch. While roasting the rabbit, she took out the dimensional bag that she snatched from Elder Jing. The storage space of this dimensional bag was not big, at least it was far less than the Qingkun bag. The things that Elder Jing collected were also very strange. They were all gold coins, diamond coins and other valuables. In addition, there were several land deeds and contracts of slavery in Seven Seas City. After taking a closer look, there were a total of 7 land deeds, which also indicated Elder Jing's wealth and status in Seven Seas City. There were 7 mansions in the third ring of the Seven Seas Province's provincial capital city, and 4 contracts of slavery. They were women aged 16, 18, 20 and 22. Although this old guy was not young, his degree of extravagance and debauchery was no less than those young nobles in the imperial capital. Lin Muyu remained silent and threw the 4 contracts of slavery into the bonfire. Once Elder Jing died, these 4 girls would regain their freedom. As long as there were no contracts of slavery, they would not need to be slaves. As for the 7 land deeds, they would all be transferred into her Qingkun bag. Perhaps one day when she really fell into dire straits, she would at least have 7 properties in Seven Seas City. Moreover, even if in the future, in the event that she married Tang Xiaoxi, it would be considered a dowry. Thinking of this, he could not help but feel distressed. Marrying Tang Xiaoxi, this sentence seemed so ridiculous now. Tang Xiaoxi was a 9-tailed demon fox, a 9-tailed demon fox that was despised and feared by the world. How could he marry her? Lin Muyu curled up in the cold wind and roasted rabbit meat. No matter how strong a person's strength was, after the eruption what was left was only weakness. However, when he thought about it again, perhaps the people of this world couldn't tolerate the 9-tailed fox, but there wasn't anything he couldn't accept. The 9-tailed fox was destined to be a heavenly beauty. Moreover, little she was such a good person, so what was wrong with marrying a 9-tailed fox? However, the premise of all this was that Qin Yin could tolerate her. Lin Muyu was well aware of Qin Yin's feelings for him. At the same time, he also understood that Qin Yin was the one he truly loved. It was just that there was a great disparity in their statuses. After thinking about it, he slapped his forehead. What was the point of thinking so much? Perhaps in the end, neither of these 2 girls would be his. The little dragon was impatiently waiting for the rabbit meat to be roasted. It even winked at its master, indicating that it could accept rabbit meat with blood on it. However, Lin Muyu did not have the slightest intention of paying attention to it, because he could not accept rabbit meat with blood on it. If the conditions allowed it, it would affect digestion and be bad for the stomach. After the meat was roasted, this time in order to maintain her strength, Lin Muyu ate half of the rabbit. She only gave the other half to the little dragon and then let it hunt around by itself. The little dragon did not disappoint her. Not long after, it bit a wild boar to death and dragged it back. This wild boar weighed at least 200 catties, much heavier than the little dragon. It was rare that the little dragon could drag it. Moreover, the little dragon placed the wild boar carcass in front of Lin Muyu and began to talk, with its claws and fangs. Although Lin Muyu could not understand what it was saying, she could understand its intention. The little fellow was inviting her to have a meal together. No need, you can eat. Lin Muyu smiled and patted the little fellow's head. She took out a map of the dragon-seeking forest and studied it carefully. Where would Tang Xiaoxi go? After looking at the map again and again, Lin Muyu's heart suddenly lit up. In the depths of the southern jungle of the dragon-seeking forest, there was a dragon's tomb. This was the place that Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin had been to together. It was also the place that Chu Chu was guarding. Would Tang Xiaoxi go there? At the thought of this, Lin Muyu could not help but cheer in her heart. Yes, Xiaoxi must be in the dragon's tomb. He knows. If Xiao Yin and I want to find her, we will definitely go to the dragon's tomb. I'm really too stupid, I actually did not think that Xiaoxi would be in the dragon's tomb. Sai, she is in the dragon's tomb. When he looked up, he saw that most of the wild boar had already been eaten by the little dragon. He immediately patted the little dragon's head and said, "Eat quickly, we have to continue our journey after eating." After the little dragon finished eating, it was thrown into the alternate dimension. Lin Muyu immediately activated the fallen star steps and traversed the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. After losing her warhorse, she could only rely on the fallen star steps to travel. Moreover, if she could guess that Tang Xiaoxi would go to the dragon's tomb, others might be able to guess as well. After all, many people knew about that trip to the dragon-seeking forest. However, Lin Mu did not know that this time, there was more than one group of people who wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi. Dragon-seeking forest, southern jungle. A group of about 500 people rode slowly through the jungle. At the front of the group was an old man dressed in light armor. He wore a cloak embroidered with a python, and on his chest was a shiny golden purple flower empire emblem. A group of people behind him also wore the emblems of the empire's soldiers. A large flag that fluttered in the wind had the word Zing engraved on it. They were the troops of the Divine Marquis Constabulary. In the crowd, Captain Sikong Nen carried his long sword and quickly moved forward. He said, "Marquis, the messenger bird reported that the territory of a 7,200 years old bramble wolf is in front of us. Should we go around it?" Zheng Yifan shook his head and said, "No, this old man will go and kill it in a moment." Yes. Sikong Nan held his saber and bowed respectfully. He asked cautiously, "Marquis, if we find Tang Xiaoxi, what should we do? Please tell us, Marquis. Otherwise we won't know what to do." "That depends on what kind of Tang Xiaoxi it is." Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and smiled. "What do you mean?" Sikong Nan was a boorish man and naturally did not understand the mystery. Zheng Yifan smiled faintly and said, "If it's Tang Xiaoxi in her normal form, we'll bring her back to Lanyan City and take good care of her. If it's Tang Xiaoxi in the form of the nine-tailed demon fox, we'll kill her on the spot and leave the Imperial Army's insignia behind." Sikong Nan was confused. "What do you mean? Why don't we take this opportunity to kill Tang Xiaoxi? She is Her Highness Qin Yin's best friend. If Tang Xiaoxi is alive, it is destined to be a contract between the imperial capital and the Seven Seas city." Zheng Yifan said lightly, "You only know one thing, not the other. If the Divine Marquis residence kills Tang Xiaoxi, then we will offend Tang Lan. What good will that do us? So if Tang Xiaoxi is normal, we will bring her back and Tang Lan will naturally be grateful to the Divine Marquis residence. But if Tang Xiaoxi is still a nine-tailed fox demon, then we will kill her and leave the Imperial Army emblem on her so that the Seven Seas city will know that it was Feng Jixing who killed Tang Xiaoxi. This way, the contract between the Lanyan city and the Seven Seas city will fall apart on its own. Isn't this the result we want?" Sikong Nan suddenly understood. He cupped his fists and said, "The Marquis residence is truly a man of God." Zheng Yifan's eyes dimmed as he said, "This is just wishful thinking on our part. Heaven knows what is going on now. Perhaps Tang Xiaoxi was killed by the spiritual beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, or perhaps she could not withstand the power of the nine-tailed fox demon and self-destructed. For now we can only take one step at a time. Anyway, remember, do not act rashly at any time. Also, do not clash with Her Highness Yin's army. Now is not the time." Yes, Marquis residence. Chapter 271. After devouring the beast spirit of a 3,400-year-old wolf, a golden line appeared on the little dragon's head for the first time. It had finally stepped into the ranks of the 1,000-year spiritual beasts. Awoo, the cry was still the same. The holy dragon who took the path of acting cute was really unbearable. Lin Muyu looked at the satisfied Acatosaurus on the ground and couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Little apple, your strength has once again made a qualitative leap. Show me what is your ability now." Catosaurus turned over and got up from the ground. It stomped its front feet on the ground and its momentum seemed to have changed. The scales on its back stood up one by one and actually formed a dragon armor blade. The next moment the little dragon suddenly curled up its body, opened its mouth and bit its tail, forming a circle on the ground and rolling on the ground. The dragon armor blade could be seen crushing the grass, trees and even rocks into pieces. This was really too terrifying. Lin Muyu was shocked. Invincible? Invincible firestorm wheels? The little dragon stopped and happily nodded its head as if it very much recognized this name. This was the second evolution of Acatosaurus. The first evolution gave it the ability Phantom Claw, and the second evolution gave it the invincible firestorm wheels. Moreover, it could be foreseen that once Acatosaurus reached adulthood and used the invincible firestorm wheels with its huge body, it would be simply a purgatory. Awoo! Acatosaurus, who had just entered the second evolution, seemed to be very tired. It needed to rest. Lin Muyu was a considerate master, and immediately waved her fist to split open a space crack, letting the little dragon in to sleep and grow. After eating the last piece of meat in her hand, Lin Muyu stood up, and her whole body was filled with combat energy again. She could run all the way again. Although the Fallen Star Steps was fast and could run for about 500 miles in one go, it consumed too much of her physical strength. However, she had no choice. After all, the Dragon Tomb was too far away. Even at full speed, it would take 3 to 4 days to get there. She didn't know how Tang Xiaoxi was doing now. She hoped that she wouldn't meet a human. After all, in the form of a 9-tailed demon fox, no matter how beautiful she was, she would probably scare away a lot of people. After running for more than 500 miles, the sky darkened again and it was night again. Lin Muyu slowly slowed down. She needed to rest for a while. Her physical strength and combat energy were about to be exhausted, and her legs felt like they were filled with lead. She couldn't run anymore. However, just when she stopped, she suddenly heard the sound of hooves from afar. After a few seconds, a group of people appeared in her field of vision. It was a group of wandering mercenaries, and there were about 50 of them. Although they were dressed like mercenaries, their armor was brand new and their weapons were excellent. The horses they were riding on were also very sturdy. They didn't look like mercenaries at all. Not good. Lin Muyu didn't have time to dodge and she was already in the sight of the mercenaries. The most frightening thing was that she couldn't move her legs anymore. The terrifying state of the Fallen Star Steps had come, and her entire body's combat energy and physical strength had entered a state of exhaustion. She needed at least half an hour to recover. There's someone there. A group of mercenaries suddenly pointed their weapons at Lin Muyu and shouted, "Catch him!" They had horses, so they definitely couldn't run away. Lin Muyu stopped running. She held the dragon spirit sword in her hand and smiled as she looked at the group of people rushing up the hill and surrounding her. Her eyes were filled with confidence and arrogance as she said, "What do you want?" The mercenary in the lead was a man with a long beard. He was very sturdy and he held a heavy battle axe in his hand. Moreover, this axe had a faint hint of soul refining in it. It was a mysterious rank axe, and although this man tried his best to hide his cultivation, Lin Muyu could still sense the surging combat energy in his body with the spirit pulse technique. The other dozens of mercenaries were also not ordinary people. Most of them were people with Earth Realm cultivation. This group of people was definitely not as simple as wandering mercenaries. Lin Muyu felt a chill from the bottom of her heart. She secretly lamented that her luck was too bad. The mercenary in the lead lowered his axe and came to Lin Muyu's side. He spurred his horse around and smiled. "This armor is not bad. If I'm not wrong, this is the attire of the Holy Temple in the capital. I wonder, who are you in the Holy Temple? You actually have a golden badge and the rank of Chiliarch." They came with ill intentions. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said in an imposing manner that did not lose to her opponent, "I'm Ma Lin, a gold star instructor of the Holy Temple. I entered the dragon-seeking forest to cultivate by myself this time. Who are you?" The man laughed and lifted the battle axe on his shoulder. He said, "I'm Li Jingxi, the leader of the Violet Mercenary Group in Lanyan City. Lord Holy Temple, since we've met here, why don't we have a drink or two? Since it's getting cold, why don't you set up camp with us?" Lin Muyu's gaze was indifferent. "You want to rob someone from the Holy Temple?" "No, we don't have the guts." Li Jingxi laughed and said, "You're too cautious, Lord. We, the Violet Mercenary Group, are all heroes who fight for justice. Someone give this lord a horse and help him carry a weapon." "Yes." A mercenary led a skinny horse over and stretched out his hand. "But may I help you carry a weapon?" Lin Muyu scanned the group of people with clear eyes. She noticed that many of them were injured. There was even a person at the back with a broken arm. Even the strongest person in the group, Li Jingxi, was injured. Although he was wearing a battle knee brace made of cowhide, blood was seeping out of his gray pants. Seeing this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. The reason why these people didn't make a move now was probably because they didn't have full confidence. After all, none of the gold stars in the Holy Temple were easy to deal with. She could not lose her momentum. She was also at the end of her rope and needed time to rest. At this time she could only rely on her momentum to find a chance to survive. She raised her hand and handed the Dragon Soul Sword to the mercenary. "Take care of it." "Yes, Lord." Mounting the horse, Lin Muyu fastened her cloak and said, Where are you going to camp today, Commander Li? From the looks of it, you must have just killed a powerful spirit beast? Li Jingxi knew he could not deceive her. He nodded and said, yes, we met a 6,400-year-old bear of earth on the way. I lost dozens of men to injure it, but the bear of earth still left with heavy injuries. If that's the case. An idea came to Lin Muyu and she smiled. Then we'll rest for the night. Tomorrow we'll find this bear of earth. Li Jingxi was taken aback. Lord, aren't you afraid of a 6,400-year-old spirit beast? What's there to be afraid of about a mere beast? Lin Muyu's momentum was astonishing. She smiled and said, we'll find the bear of earth's lair tomorrow. All you need to do is watch. Good, that's great. With a faint smile on her face, Lin Muyu continued to ask, I wonder, why did Commander Li bring your mercenary brothers so deep into the dragon-seeking forest? There shouldn't be anything you want here. If it was a mercenary mission, you wouldn't have to go so deep. Li Jingxi was taken aback. He was stumped by Lin Muyu's question. He scratched his head and smiled awkwardly. I'm ashamed to say this. We originally planned to go to Seven Seas City, but we got lost in the dragon-seeking forest. Lin Muyu thought to herself, who are you trying to fool? Seven Seas City is north of the imperial capital. This place is almost south of the imperial capital. Even if you got lost, you wouldn't get lost to such an absurd extent, right? However, he didn't expose her. After all, he was living under someone else's roof. He was relying on his momentum to support himself. If the opponent were to make things difficult for him, he wouldn't have it easy either. His body glowed with a faint golden light. The golden gourd martial spirit was slowly absorbing the spirit qi between heaven and earth to replenish his consumed dou qi. At the same time, his stamina was recovering. When Li Jingxi and the others found a cliff to set up camp, Lin Muyu's dou qi and stamina had completely recovered. However, she wasn't in a hurry to make a move. She had to figure out who this group of people were first. 4 bonfires were lit under the cliff. The group surrounded the bonfires and began to cook soup. The accompanying warhorses carried some spirit beast corpses on their backs. They cut off the meat and cooked the soup. Not long after, the aroma filled the air. There was even a deer roasting on one of the bonfires. This group of people's lives were too extravagant. Not long after, Li Jingxi brought over a large jar of wine. He smiled and said, Sir Ma Lin, it's warm and cold. Drink to warm your body. Let's drink until we're drunk. Alright. Drinking was good. When a person was drunk, they would be the most relaxed. This was the best time for Lin Muyu to use the mind-reading ability derived from the spirit pulse technique to find out what these people were thinking. Soon everyone was already drunk. However, Li Jingxi didn't drink much. He spat out most of the wine into the towel that he used to wipe his mouth. He was really a wine expert. Lin Muyu smiled silently. She slowly extended the spirit pulse technique and seeped into Li Jingxi's yi. Soon she heard a voice saying, I really can't see the depth of this brat's cultivation. Damn it, we've been ordered to hunt down Tang Xiaoxi. I don't know if we'll succeed. Once we get this brat drunk, we'll kill him. We can't let this *T Ma Lin ruin our mission. However, what exactly was the mission? He refused to say it no matter what. Lin Muyu was a little anxious. After waiting for a while, she finally read Li Jingxi's yi again. Is Tang Xiaoxi really that important? Seriously, Her Highness gave us this kind of mission. We don't have many people lurking in the capital. We haven't even seen Tang Xiaoxi and we've already lost so many people. She even told us to be careful and not ruin Shenhe's plan. Damn it. After we finish the mission, it's time to ask Her Highness to send more people to us. She also needs to reward us more. Who was this Her Highness? Lin Muyu frowned. Could it be that this group of people was sent by Qin Yin? That couldn't be right. If Qin Yin really sent more people, she would have come herself. Where did this group of people come from? However, he didn't have time to continue reading Li Jingxi's mind. After a look from Li Jingxi, 4 mercenaries had already surrounded them. Each of them had their hands on the hilt of their swords. They didn't come with good intentions. Chapter 272. This group of people were definitely not ordinary mercenaries. While they were drinking and eating, they didn't speak a single word. Rather than saying that they were mercenaries, it would be better to say that they were regular soldiers with strict discipline. Furthermore, their gazes were not filled with the greed and arrogance of mercenaries, but with restraint and fortitude. At this moment, 4 people surrounded Lin Muyu. Li Jingxi held a wine glass in one hand and a sword hilt in the other. He smiled and said, "Lord Ma Lin, you've drunk too much. Come, let us brothers send you on your way." Plang. Li Jingxi held the sword hilt upside down and suddenly raised his hand to pull out the blade. The blade turned into a bolt of lightning and swept upwards towards Lin Muyu's side. At the same time, the surrounding 4 people also pulled out their swords and stabbed forward. This kind of tacit understanding wasn't something that ordinary mercenaries could have. One could imagine how many unguarded experts they had killed using this method. However, Lin Muyu wasn't one of them. A golden light suddenly bloomed from Lin Muyu's body. The golden gourd walls came out of her body and protected her body. After a few dang 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 sounds, the 5 long swords were all deflected. At the same time, Lin Muyu leaped up and opened her hand. Flames lingered around it as the dragon spirit sword on the horse's back was quickly unsheathed. Pooh. With the imperial sword technique, the dragon spirit sword pierced through a mercenary's abdomen. Lin Muyu's right hand controlled the dragon spirit sword in the air while her left arm was surrounded by the true dragon aura. With 2 ping-ping sounds, the other 2 mercenaries were pushed back. Taking advantage of the fact that Li Jingxi couldn't open his eyes due to the sunlight, she lifted her leg and gave him a heavy kick. Immediately, Li Jingxi covered his abdomen and retreated with a face full of shock. Swoosh! The demonic noise saber pierced through the air. Lin Muyu was multitasking. The invisible demonic noise saber quickly attacked and killed several people. At the same time, she controlled the dragon spirit sword to continue the slaughter. Her true dragon arm also didn't stop attacking the surrounding mercenaries. "Kill him. Tack together. Use your bows and arrows," Li Jingxi shouted as he retreated. However, the arrows were unable to kill Lin Muyu. The defensive ability of the golden gourd walls was extraordinarily tyrannical. Lin Muyu flew through the crowd like a whirlwind, her killing intent surging. In the blink of an eye, the dragon spirit sword was already covered in blood, while the demonic noise saber danced formlessly in the crowd. In the blink of an eye, the necks of several people wielding longbows were cut into pieces. Bang! A loud boom erupted from behind her. Li Jingxi had unleashed an attack imbued with his scorching battle chi, and Lin Muyu shuddered involuntarily. At the same time, the walls of the gourd finally shattered, and the sharp arrows bounced off her suit of battle armor. Lin Muyu had killed over a dozen people in the blink of an eye, but she had also expended over half of her battle chi. His suit of battle armor quickly dissipated, and he was at a huge disadvantage in a one-on-one battle. Puff, puff. In the instant that his battle armor had shattered, he had been struck by 2 arrows on his back. Even though the arrows had only pierced a few centimeters into his flesh through his suit of battle armor, it was still an excruciating pain that reduced his strength by at least 30%. To catch bandits, first catch their leader. Lin Muyu rushed toward Li Jingxi and raised her hand to unleash a punch. Chaos of the lives. Lin Muyu's strength was already above Li Jingxi's, and she also had the 7 luminaries' profound energy. She instantly shattered Li Jingxi's sword, and the dragon spirit sword swept past, slicing the battle axe that Li Jingxi had just raised in half. Her punch still landed squarely on Li Jingxi's chest, and the sound of ribs breaking could be heard clearly. Ugh! Li Jingxi threw up a mouthful of blood and there was no way he could struggle. Lin Muyu grabbed him with one hand and she leaped onto a fine horse. She then slashed the reins and spurred the horse away. Behind them, a group of mercenaries also mounted their horses and chased after them. Lin Muyu put Li Jingxi on the horse's back, turned around and unleashed a demonic sound fist. Immediately, a mercenary groaned and fell to the ground, killed on the spot. In the end, Lin Muyu spun around 3 times, and 3 mercenaries with high cultivation bases were killed by the demonic sonic fists imbued with battle energy. Li Jingxi, who was on horseback, spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted, "Stop chasing, let's hurry back to the imperial capital and report to the special envoy. The person who killed me is Lin Muyu." The group of mercenaries turned around and left without hesitation. Lin Muyu was also worried that they would chase after them, so she brought Li Jingxi and ran for dozens of miles before stopping. She lifted him up and threw him under an ancient tree. She said coldly, "Tell me, who are you people?" Li Jingxi's mouth was full of blood and he laughed loudly. "I actually didn't recognize that you were Lin Muyu, I admit it. But you want to get anything out of me? Dream on." Lin Muyu suddenly pressed the dragon spirit sword against his neck and said coldly, "Are you going to tell me or not?" Li Jingxi gritted his teeth and forcefully pushed his body forward. With a pu sound, the sharp dragon spirit sword directly pierced through his throat. Lin Muyu's eyes were indifferent. If he died, then he died. This kind of person's death was not to be regretted, but it was a pity that she didn't get anything out of him. She didn't know where these mercenaries came from. They looked like people from the army, but who in the Empire's army would make a move against an instructor from the Golden Star Temple? Could it be that this group of people were from the Divine Might Battalion? It didn't seem like it. Most of the soldiers from the Divine Might Battalion used long blades, and they used the military blade technique passed down by Xiang Wenyin, wind blade technique. But this group of people mostly used swords, and their sword techniques were very strange and tricky. After searching Li Jingxi's corpse, she didn't find anything. This group of people seemed to have done a very good job in keeping secrets. If it wasn't for the mind-reading ability of the spirit pulse technique, she probably wouldn't even be able to find any clues. She rested beside Li Jingxi's corpse for a while, but she accidentally fell asleep. When Lin Muyu woke up, it was already dawn. It was another new day. After eating, she quickly galloped towards the southern forest. The dragon's tomb was getting closer and closer. In about a day she would arrive there, but she didn't know what kind of things she would encounter. In the southwest direction of the dragon-seeking forest, the sound of hooves galloping could be heard. Tang Bin led over 1,000 Seven Seas city soldiers and galloped forward. After being attacked by spirit beasts 3 more times, the number of people in Seven Seas City was greatly reduced, and there were less than 1,200 people left. Although Tang Bin was furious, there was nothing he could do. There were many powerful spirit beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, and if humans accidentally stepped into the territory of these spirit beasts, they would be attacked. After all, spirit beasts also understood the importance of territory. Those who dared to enter their territory were either enemies or food. There was no third possibility. After Elder Jing died, Tang Bin had been deeply worried. While speeding up the march, he was also worried about what kind of spirit beasts they would encounter next. And these Tang sect soldiers who came from Seven Seas City were already exhausted. The appearance of spirit beasts made them exhausted. Moreover, they didn't know where Tang Xiaoxi was at all. This trip didn't seem like they were looking for someone, but more like they were looking for death in the dragon-seeking forest. This dragon-seeking forest probably hadn't been this lively for several hundred years. It was simply like a feast for the long-lived spirit beasts. Not long after, a scout galloped over and said respectfully, "Young master, we found a group of people in front of us. They came from Lanyan City." "People from the imperial capital?" Tang Bin raised his eyebrows. "Is it the Imperial Army or the Imperial Army?" "Neither, it's the Divine Might Battalion's army. It seems that Divine Marquis Xing Yifan is also among them." "Xing Yifan is here too." Tang Bin nodded and muttered, "Is Xing Yifan here to find Xiaoxi or to kill Xiaoxi?" The scout shook his head. "I don't know." "How many people do they have?" "About 400 people, not too many. They're already here." "Young master, we can't hide anymore." "Is that so?" Tang Bin waved his hand and said, "Everyone be on guard, prepare for battle." "Yes." The group of Tang sect soldiers unsheathed their weapons one after another. Behind them, many people took out longbows from the backs of their horses. If this was a real battle, the cavalry might not be as useful as the archers. After all, this wasn't an open field, and the war horses couldn't increase their speed to the speed of a charge. Moreover, it was inconvenient for them to move around, so it was better to abandon their horses and use bows instead. This group of people were the elites of the Tang sect army. Naturally, they were very skilled in horsemanship, archery, and swordsmanship. Not long after, a group of people slowly approached from afar. They were carrying the flag of the Divine Might Battalion, and Xing Yifan was at the front of the group. He rode over on his horse and smiled. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the young master of the Tang family." Tang Bin also smiled and said respectfully, "So it's the Marquis. I wonder, is the Divine Might Battalion also searching for Xiaoxi's whereabouts in the Dragon Forest?" Xing Yifan nodded. "The nine-tailed demon fox kidnapped Princess Xi. His Majesty is anxious, so he ordered me to lead the Divine Might Battalion into the Dragon Forest to search for Princess Xi. Young Master Tang Bin, please don't be impatient. Princess Xi is blessed by the heavens, so she'll definitely be fine." Tang Bin smiled. Thank you for your kind words, Marquis. Do you know where Xiaoxi is? Or, where did the nine-tailed demon fox kidnap Xiaoxi? Zheng Yifan stroked his beard and said, Princess, she once went to the dragon tomb in the south of the dragon-seeking forest with Her Highness Yin for an adventure. If I'm not mistaken, Princess, she might be in the dragon tomb now. I see, Tang Bin frowned and said, then please lead the way, Marty. We'll go to the dragon tomb together. At least we can look after each other. That's fine. Zheng Yifan nodded. If we stay together we can better deal with the unknown spiritual beasts in the dragon forest. However, I've already lost a lot of troops, but young master still has more than 1,000 troops. Why don't young master clear the path in front? What a cunning old fox. Tang Bin cursed in his heart. He gritted his teeth and said, why don't we do it this way? Let's go side by side. What do you think? It's good too. Maybe we'll be able to find Princess Xi earlier this way. Dragon-shaped valley was a valley in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. There were hunters in the valley who made a living by hunting small wild beasts. This place was filled with outstanding people and was surrounded by cliffs. Only a small path in the valley could lead people in and out of the valley, creating a beautiful scene of paradise. Even though this valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest, the hunters in the valley were safe and sound. In a simple and crude courtyard, a rustling sound came from a fence made of bamboo branches. Clothes that were being hung to dry slid off the bamboo poles with a shwa-shwa sound. Inside the fence, a beautiful young girl was lying on the ground. Her skin was as white as snow and her figure was graceful. However, the 9 slightly swaying fiery red tails behind her looked exceptionally bewitching. She quickly put on a long dress, but unfortunately, the tails behind her were swaying unwillingly inside her clothes. This made her a little speechless and she could not help but smile faintly. However, at this moment, a child about 3 or 4 years old stood outside and asked in a tender voice, Excuse me, are you a thief? Why did you steal mother's clothes? The young girl stared at him in shock. Suddenly, she leaped out of the fence and disappeared into the forest after a few leaps. Chapter 273. The cold wind blew through the forest. It was early in the morning and they were only 300 miles away from the dragon's tomb. With the speed of the heavy cavalry, they could reach the dragon's tomb before nightfall. However, the journey was full of hardships and everyone seemed to be exhausted. Many of the soldiers were even infected with diseases, causing their combat power to decrease sharply. Zheng Yifan frowned and gripped the reins tightly. He glanced to the right and saw Tang Bin approaching on horseback. He cupped his fists and smiled. Divine Marquis, many of the soldiers in the Divine Might Battalion are infected with diseases. In my opinion, Divine Marquis, why don't we set up camp here and let the soldiers gather information? As for the scouting ahead, let's leave it to the soldiers of Qihai City. What do you think? This. Zheng Yifan hesitated for a moment then said, this is already the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. It's not like the outskirts where there are many 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Young master, please think thrice before you act. This old man may be old, but I can still lend young master a hand. Tang Bin, on the other hand, had a different idea in his mind. He wanted to be the first to enter the dragon's tomb to find Tang Xiaoxi. If it was Tang Xiaoxi in her 9-tailed demon fox form, then he would kill her on the spot. Naturally, the fewer people who knew about this, the better. The elites of Seven Seas City that accompanied him were all his trusted aides. However, if Zheng Yifan knew about this, then it would be equivalent to giving him a handle. This was something Tang Bin absolutely did not want to see. Tang Bin cupped his fists and smiled. Thank you for your kindness, Divine Marquis. However, I'm leading the elites of Qihai City. I believe that even if we encounter a 10,000-year spiritual beast, we will be able to escape safely. The most important thing is to find Xiaoxi as soon as possible. If that's the case, I won't say anything more. Zheng Yifan pondered for a moment. But what? Tang Bin asked. Zheng Yifan smiled and said, however, this old man had once trained in this area about 10 years ago. There are 2 roads leading to the dragon's tomb from here. One is the Wuxia Valley and the other is the Green Summit Ridge. This old man suggests that young master take the Green Summit Ridge. That place is only occupied by a group of swift wolves. As for the Wuxia Valley, this old man has personally seen a flaming ironback bear that has lived there for more than 10,000 years. Thank you, Divine Marquis, I understand then. Tang Bin turned his horse around and smiled. Our Seven Seas city will depart first. Divine Marquis, Divine Might Battalion, please bring up the rear. Of course, young master, please be careful. Thank you, you too. Tang Bin rode his horse back to the Seven Seas city camp, loudly ordering, full speed ahead. The sound of horse hooves thundered, and the more than 1,000 people of Seven Seas city began to run, disappearing into the depths of the forest in the blink of an eye. Zheng Yifan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance, smiling, have a safe journey, young master. Sikong Nan smiled faintly. Marquis has pointed out a path for young Master Tang, but I don't know if they're willing to take it, but… Marquis, was that ironback bear that was more than 10,000 years old made up by you to deceive that kid Tang Bin? Zheng Yifan lightly waved his robe sleeves and lightly said, when have you ever seen me, Zheng Yifan, deceive anyone? Sikong Nan was stunned, but his heart was in turmoil. He thought to himself, perhaps this is the legendary, the art of war is deceitful? Among the constantly galloping cavalry, Tang Hao, a Tang family clansman whose strength was second only to Tang Bin, carried a broadsword, his face full of caution as he asked, young master, Zheng Yifan suggested that we go through the Green Summit Ridge. Which path do you think we should take? Tang Bin squinted his eyes. Zheng Yifan, that old fox, since he pointed out that there is a 10,000-year-old ironback bear in the Loxi Valley, I don't believe him and insist on going through the Loxi Valley. The art of war is deceitful, the truth is false, the falsehood is true. This Zheng Yifan's words cannot be trusted, but we must also believe him. Both the Green Summit Ridge and the Loxi Valley may be occupied by 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts. Tell everyone to be careful and send scouts to scout ahead. This subordinate understands. Tang Hao lowered his broadsword. Rays of Do Qi appeared on the blade. He was a powerhouse who had just stepped into the first level of the Heaven Realm. Although he was over 40 years old, he was highly valued and was also the person closest to Tang Bin in the family. Now that Elder Jing was dead, Tang Hao had become Tang Bin's most trusted general. Young master. Tang Hao suddenly wanted to say something but stopped. Uncle Hao, what's wrong? Is there something wrong? Tang Bin asked in surprise. Tang Hao's eyes flickered as he looked at the grass that kept retreating under the hooves of the horses and said, young master, Xiaoxi is your biological cousin. Can we consider not killing Xiaoxi, as long as she agrees not to fight with you for the inheritance of Seven Seas City? How this matter? Tang Bin laughed. Uncle Hao, I know that you watched me and Xiaoxi grow up together and have feelings for us, so I won't make things difficult for you. As long as Xiao Yin isn't a nine-tailed demon fox, I won't do anything to her. After all, I've loved this little sister very much since I was young. This is something that Uncle Hao can also see. Then what if Xiaoxi is a nine-tailed demon fox? Those who are not of our clan must have a different heart. Killing intent flashed across Tang Bin's eyes as he said, this can only mean that she's not a member of our Tang family. Since she's not a member of the Tang family, then just kill her. Tang Hao sighed. Yes, this subordinate will obey young master's orders. Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were both direct descendants of Tang Lan, while Tang Hao was a direct descendant of Duke Lan's elder brother. It was precisely because of this that he didn't have a very high status in the clan. At the very least, he couldn't be compared to Tang Bin, Tang Lu, Tang Wei and Tang Xiaoxi. To be able to become a personal attendant was already a great fortune. Those with low cultivation could only be reduced to maids or attendants. Loxi Valley. Spring was warm and flowers were in full bloom. The entire mountain was blooming with white flowers. 4 light cavalry scouts passed through the Loxi Valley. Both sides of the valley were filled with winding paths. It was impossible to see if there were any ambushes. They had no choice but to use their spears to randomly stab the grass. Every so often, a few poisonous snakes would jump out with a piu-piu-piu sound. However, for cultivators, poisonous snakes were simply child's play. They were only afraid of 1,000-year or 10,000-year poisonous snakes like the dragon snake. The length of the Loxi Valley was less than a mile. After a round trip, the scouts all came out of the valley and reported to Tang Bin, young master, there are only a few poisonous snakes in the Loxi Valley. There's nothing wrong with it. Tang Bin nodded and laughed. Humph, Shi Yifan thinks he can scare me. He's simply dreaming. Let's go through the Loxi Valley. We must reach the dragon's tomb before dusk. Yes. Tang Bin, Tang Hao and the rest of the Tang family entered the Loxi Valley. The sound of 1,200 heavy cavalry's hooves shook the entire valley. Obviously, this kind of power was not something the 4 light cavalry scouts could compare to. At this time, in one of the caves of the Loch Valley, a gigantic creature slowly woke up from its slumber after being jolted by the hooves of the heavy cavalry. It opened its fiery red eyes and patted its flat abdomen. There wasn't a lot of food throughout the winter, and it had been starving for many days. It seemed like it was welcoming another delicious meal. Roar! The flaming ironback bear's roar echoed in the valley. In the next moment, this big guy that was at least 3 meters tall suddenly jumped out of the cave. Its sharp claws pounced on a huge rock. Its entire body was enshrouded in raging flames. It stared at the group of people passing through the valley a few meters away. Without saying a word, it pounced down and bit the head of a 7 Seas City heavy cavalry. After spitting out the helmet, it began to chew vigorously. At the same time, it swept its palms across and cut open the stomachs of 2 other heavy cavalry. Beast! A Tang family member at the 3rd layer of the Earth realm roared angrily. He raised his iron spear and charged over. His arm trembled and a spear light shot out. The tip of the spear went straight for the flaming ironback bear's eyes. Unfortunately, this flaming ironback bear had a total of 11 golden lines and 4 silver lines on its forehead. This was a 10,000-year ferocious beast. The invisible flames around its eyes directly shattered the iron spear. In a rage, the ironback bear pounced forward. Its sharp claws were astonishingly fast, and it suddenly swept diagonally. The wind from its claws was scorching hot, and it actually directly tore the Earth Realm 3rd layer clansman into 2 halves. His body was a bloody mess, and he didn't even have time to scream. Everyone was dumbfounded. At this time, Tang Bin, Tang Hao and the rest had also returned. Looking at the surrounded ironback bear, they gritted their teeth and shouted, "Bows, arrows, spears, do your best to distance yourself. We'll be able to kill this 10,000-year ferocious beast once we break its ferocious chi." As he said that, Tang Bin opened his arms, and the firefox martial soul darted around his shoulders. A firefox seal broke through the air. Peng! Star sacrificial seal. The firefox seal smashed heavily into the ironback bear's forehead, but it only sent out powerful flames and fragments of ferocious chi. It didn't really hurt the ironback bear. Instead, the ironback bear charged forward ferociously, and with its claws and bites, it killed a few more spear-wielding soldiers. Arrows fell like rain from all directions, but how could they break the ferocious chi of a 10,000-year ferocious beast? Tang Bin kept a distance from the ironback bear, and he used the firefox seal again and again. He was the only expert at the peak of the 1st layer of the Heaven Realm, and also the only person who had cultivated the firefox seal to the 7th layer. The 5 chi seals in his hands spun rapidly, and they bombarded the ironback bear's head. Finally, after nearly 100 people were killed or injured, the ferocious chi of the ironback bear was broken. Spears. Bows and arrows. Tang Hao ordered loudly, but the ironback bear was a spirit beast race known for its defense. Its fur was as hard as iron, and it actually broke the spears in half. As for the arrows, they couldn't even hurt it in the slightest. On the other hand, the attacks of the crowd made the ironback bear almost go berserk. Its body was covered in flames, and it charged back and forth among the crowd. In less than 20 minutes, the 1,200 Tang clan soldiers led by Tang Bin had been killed by the ironback bear, and only less than 400 people were left. The valley was filled with broken limbs and bodies, and the ironback bear had launched a few flame attacks, burning quite a few people into a pile of ashes. The scene was simply too horrible to look at. The ironback bear had paid a heavy price as well. Its entire body was covered in blood, and its iron-like skin was lacerated. More than a dozen arrows had pierced through its eyes. It was only relying on the aura of a human to kill its prey. On the peak of the Loxi Valley, a handsome young man lay quietly on top of a green rock. He was just sensing the battle in the valley with his spirit sense. Who else could it be other than Lin Muyu? You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.